The incident is clearly embarrassing for Kim Jong-un. It's slightly surprising that the North Korean state media have issued numerous reports, not only outlining Kim Jong-un's disappointment, but even targeting particular individuals, such as the manager of the shipyard in Chongjin, who was actually named in a North Korean state media report and deemed to be responsible for the accident. Now, we don't know whether this is a way of the North Korean regime trying to shift the blame from senior officials, but Kim Jong-un has made clear that the engineers, that those who have been responsible for the warship's launch, but also its design and construction, will face consequences. This does highlight the severity of the impact of the accident on North Korea's self-image. I think there are two main reasons as to why Kim Jong-un is upset and angry about the recent botched attempt to launch the warship. I think firstly, this is a mishap, but it's an obstacle nonetheless to North Korea's further development of its navy, the modernization of its navy, and its broader military modernization. And we've known for quite some time now that Kim Jong-un is set on modernizing North Korea's military. The second reason, I think, is that this is an embarrassing incident with respect to North Korea's sense of status and prestige. Actually, Kim Jong-un even said that the incident harmed the prestige of the North Korean state. And one of the reasons why North Korea has been trying to expand the scope and sophistication of its navy is to do with prestige and status. All great powers have strong navies, and Kim Jong-un wants to make sure that North Korea isn't left out in that regard. So we know that North Korea's military capabilities, compared, say, to those of South Korea, tend to be much more outdated in terms of quality, but in terms of quantity, they are often more numerous. We can take North Korea's armed forces, for instance, a standing army of 1.4 million, significantly large numbers. But in terms of the quality of the conventional weaponry used, this quality pales in comparison to that of South Korea and obviously of the West. We can say a similar thing about North Korea's naval capabilities. Much of Pyongyang's naval capabilities are very much outdated in comparison to the much more sophisticated and advanced technology used by South Korea, even if North Korea may have more in terms of quantity. And this is very important because just as South Korea has been advancing its own navy in the past decade, North Korea wants to do this as well, particularly given how only earlier this month, the US and South Korea carried out joint naval exercises, routine joint naval exercises around the Korean Peninsula, which we know North Korea has long disliked, which North Korea has always called war games. I think what we need to understand is that North Korea is trying to increase significantly the quality of its military. And what North Korea has done in the past is that it's managed to try and compensate for the poor quality of its military, its conventional weapons, by investing heavily in a nuclear and missile program. What we're seeing now, and what we saw ever since January 2021, when Kim Jong-un announced a 5-year military defense plan, we're seeing a concerted desire to improve both the quantity, but also crucially the quality of North Korea's capabilities, both conventional, but also unconventional. This isn't the first time that North Korea has admitted that things have gone wrong. But I think what's important here is that Pyongyang is certainly not going to delay or think again about military modernization. I think this is a clear signal that North Korea is now only going to be even more emboldened to try and increase its military capabilities, the modernization of its military capabilities, and of course, its nuclear capabilities. All of this is tied to Kim Jong-un's ultimate goal. His ultimate goal is for North Korea to be recognized as a de facto nuclear armed state. And this warship, we saw a similar warship being revealed only a month ago by Kim Jong-un and his daughter Kim Joo-ae. These warships are new in terms of North Korea's broader military arsenal. But these warships, crucially, are certain they're not separate from North Korea's missile and nuclear development. We know that these warships are guided missile destroyers, right? And this is a significant development, not only in North Korea's maritime capabilities, but also its nuclear and missile capabilities. We know that in the past, Kim Jong-un has escalated tensions with South Korea and with the United States as a way of trying to distract attention from domestic problems. Over the past year, we have seen North Korea significantly increase its provocations towards South Korea. We've seen the firing of artillery across the de facto maritime border, the Northern Limit Line, in early 2024. And obviously, we've seen North Korea send balloons filled with excrement and rubbish across the inter-Korean border, which could be seen as a form of grey zone warfare. These provocations, I think, are likely to continue. It's interesting that North Korea earlier today has said that there's going to be an investigation into the cause of the accident involving the warship. So part of me thinks that North Korea will continue to provoke South Korea and the United States, but that would have happened anyway, irrespective of yesterday's incidents. I do foresee Pyongyang engaging in much more provocative behavior towards the West now, particularly given how North Korea's policy towards South Korea has changed. North Korea no longer wants to reunify with the South, and North Korea views South Korea as its principal enemy, a separate state, not part of the same Korea. I think Pyongyang's provocations towards the US are also likely to increase. We have seen this in the past, and it will also depend upon what happens in relation to the US's response. Now, if the US responds, for instance, to yesterday's mishap, North Korea might issue a provocation in response.